Hi guys, welcome back to our wonderful little podcast. Now with the introduction of Ash being a Man United fan, we've decided to change the name, so we'll be known as Keep the Ball Rolling from now on in. Adam's going to do some graphic work in time for the next one, so just bear with us. But hope everyone's well and all had a good week. Gents, how we doing?
All good.
Good, good, good. Um, it's been some football since we last spoke. We've got quite a bit to get through, so we'll start with last weekend and how our teams got on. Ad, we'll start with Arsenal because we picked on Ash first last week. What did you make of the game against Everton?
I thought we were good. I think we got the job done, didn't we? We knew it was going to be difficult, and it was. Uh, yeah, I thought we played quite well.
I thought it was complete control. To be fair, I know the scoreline probably flatters Everton a little bit. We just did what we needed to do. We seem to be managing games to look a bit better this year, not exerting loads of energy and um, sort of maybe adopting City's approach from last year, where you don't have to go gung ho from game one. Just get the results in the bag and build up confidence and form and go from there. It just seems that that's what we're doing a little bit in the league.
No, I think you're right. I think obviously City didn't really pick up max points, did they, last season? But when it mattered, they upped they upped the quality and just ran away with it, didn't they? But I think we these are the kind of games you were saying, like in the last pod, that if we want to be up there and compete, and then they're the games you have to go to and get the max points from.
Yeah, definitely. It's like I say, it was a controlled performance and nice to get a clean sheet. Obviously, in Raya's debut. I know we spoke many times actually about the Ramsdale Raya thing, but what did you make of Arteta just to chuck him in? Because I think we both spoken previously and kind of expected Ramsdale to have to make a clanger or two to lose his place, but that's not the case. He's as he did with Leno. He's given him till the first international break and then replaced him.
Yeah. Um. I mean, I haven't been overwhelmed with Ramsdale this season yet. Like he's had a couple of saves that you'd expect him to make, but I think it's what, 4 games is it? And he's had one clean sheet in 4, and obviously Raya's now had 2 and 2, and I know they're completely different. They bring different things, but I think Raya looked very calm, composed, wasn't really giving too much about, you know, being much of a shithouse. He was just focused on the game. Um, and I think I just trust Arteta what he does now. If he brings him in, then brings him in and we back him. He looks good, but we've got two top keepers, haven't we? And I think we can only look at that as a positive. Whoever plays, kind of have confidence in either of them, really.
Do you find it weird that there's a lot of hysteria about Arsenal's goalkeeper situation, and I would say three quarters of the media and pundits and everyone has criticised Arteta for his treatment of Ramsdale. But when this happened 2 seasons ago and Leno was pushed out the door without really making any errors himself, not a word was said in the media. In fact, nothing but praise for Arteta for having the balls to make such a gutsy decision and invest heavily in another goalkeeper. But now it's
Yeah,
happening to an English goalkeeper. This seems like the tables have turned, and I think it's just utter hypocrisy, really, from journalists, media people, pundits alike. Do you think there's like a national bias? Because we get it a lot with, I mean, we'll get on to Man United in a minute, but some of the English players don't come in for the same criticism as the foreign players at certain clubs. And I just feel like if Ramsdale was French, nobody would say a word.
yeah. No, I think you're right in what you're saying. Is that when Ramsdale come in, and I know there's a lot of question marks over Ramsdale anyway, but there wasn't really any remarks about it. And I think the remarks seem to be that you can't have two top keepers. Um, and maybe it's not a case that you can't have it. Maybe it's just not something that happens because when you've got two top quality keepers, they're both going to want to play. And there does seem to be a lot of media hype over it and overreaction. In my opinion, it doesn't need to be a big deal. But no, it does seem like they're just latching on to anything that they can. And I think it got like that at the end of last season, didn't it? It was, how great we've been and people just waiting for us to slip up for them to kind of latch onto something and have a go. But at the end of the day, it's the manager's team, it's the manager's decision. So I don't think it needs to be as a big deal as they're making it to be. Nobody cares. There's no uproar when Ramsdale's not playing for England, even though he's the better keeper. So it just seems to be, media just wanted to, start something off that's unnecessary in my opinion.
Well, they've got to print headlines somehow, haven't
Exactly.
they? And what about the game against PSV? Obviously, it was a first game back in the Champions League for, I believe it's 6 seasons. Might be seven. I
Yes.
can't remember. I can't do the maths off the top of the head, but it was nice to be back. It was probably a comfortable game to have your first game back in the competition at home to a Dutch side who have lost a few players in the transfer window. I thought Arsenal were very good on the night. PSV, kind of expected them to be hard to break down, shut up shop, but they didn't. They wasn't. They just cut. They were so open and went for us, made it a bit easier than it could have been, I guess, on the night. But a comfortable night, and it was good. It was the sort of performance we needed to see, especially in an attacking sense before the game against Tottenham on Sunday. Just to lift the spirits of everybody, I think, including the fans that had their own worries about how we're attacking and going forward this season. I thought it put a lot of fears to bed going into the derby at the weekend.
No, I completely agree. I think we kind of got out of that first gear. I think we actually, really give it a go. And I think, you've always got to respect the opponent, but I don't think it's that PSV were terrible. I think it was actually that, the players were up for it, the fans were up for it. And I thought it was a brilliant game. I really enjoyed it.
I don't know if I'm going overboard here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but do you link any of it to the fact that Jesus started his first game of the season? I think against Man United, when he come on, Arsenal went up a gear going forward.
Yeah,
He wasn't really on the pitch long enough against Everton to make much of a difference, and we'd already taken the lead by then anyway, and they still didn't come out of their shell even at 1-0 down. So he got sort of 18 minutes of just minutes in the legs, didn't he? But it was evident actually against PSV. He links our attack so much better than Nketiah does. Involved in everything good going forward, drags defenders away to make space for others, and I don't. It could just be coincidental that he started and given the opposition and things like that. But we looked so much better with him in the team. But I noticed that Nketiah didn't come on for him, and I don't know if that was just to give Havertz a full game and try and get his confidence up. But I don't want us reverting back to Nketiah starting against Tottenham. I think that Jesus has to play now. It's evident how much better we are as a team.
Yeah, he's such a problem player, isn't he? And you could see he was up for it, and you could see he was enjoying himself. And I agree, he's much more fluid in the way that he attacks, and he offers more in like drawing players. He's like a very dangerous player. But I was really impressed with him. He didn't stop trying, the whole game, and that's what that's what you get with him. And I think actually when you watch him how he played, the other night, he was brilliant. He was. I'd probably say he was actually the best player on the pitch. I know Odegaard got man of the match, but I think Gabby just brings energy. He brings something else. He brings a different style of play that we can play with him because he is so he's so quick and he's got so much quality. But yeah, I was really impressed, and I'd expect him to start against Spurs, to be honest.
Yeah, me too, mate. Me too. Ash, before we move on to Man United, did you catch any of the obviously you wouldn't have watched the PSV game because you guys were playing at the same time. But did you watch that game against Everton? Any
Yeah,
thoughts on the goalkeeper's situation?
Yeah, I think Ray is a cracking keeper, and I think it's good. You see it with a lot of other teams with wingers having backup strikers and stuff like that. So I think it's only a good thing. Um, and like you said and touched on, journalists need a story to write, and unfortunately they'll scrape anything from the barrel. But like I'd said, you got to stick with Arteta and believe in what he's doing is the right thing, and back him at all costs. But I think Ray is as good as, if not better than Ramsdale. To be fair, I think he's a cracking keeper. He looks so confident on the ball. He looked comfortable. He didn't seem to be under any pressure. He just seemed to take everything in his stride, I thought.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's an upgrade on Ramsdale, and like you've already said, there's nobody a bat an eyelid if you have two top class players in every other position on the pitch. So I don't see why it should be any different for a goalkeeper. And I think he made it clear now that Raya is number one by not rotating for the Champions League. He could have easily put Ramsdale in for Wednesday night, but he didn't. He stuck with Raya, and that suggests to me that Ramsdale is on the bench for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, yeah.
Is Raya somebody looking at your performances over the last two games? Raya someone that you wish you'd signed over Onana?
I don't
The
know.
price that he's available for as well.
Yeah, I mean the price was a steal, wasn't it? I think Onana, he's had a bit of a bad start, which he took. He took his own responsibility for and apologised and stuff like that. I do think Onana is a quality keeper, and I wouldn't really compare him to Raya because of how different he is. Onana's a bit like similar to Ederson. How he comes out and wants to play with his feet. He wants to be like keeper sweeper, a bit like Neuer. Goalkeepers like, whereas I just think he brings something different. But I think with shot stopping and stuff like that, I'd say Ray is a better keeper. And Onana leaves himself vulnerable a lot of the times. Lobbed and stuff. He got lobbed a couple of times in pre-season, but that's going to happen when you're playing so high up. That's just something you got to take on the chin. Ten Hag clearly wants him to play that way. He's brought him in because he knows how good he is with his feet. The passes he's doing each game, and speak for itself, don't they? But I'll rate Raya, and I think some people was just thinking he was just going to come and sit on the bench, but there's no way that Raya would have left Brentford to join Arsenal to just sit on the bench. He's come to know that he's capable of getting that number one position in my eyes, and I think he's quite clearly, more than got the ability to do so.
Yeah, I think both myself and Adam would agree with that. What's going wrong for Man United this season? Is that 3 or 4 defeats on the bounce, or 4 defeats in the last 5?
Yeah.
If you go back to the Spurs game, one clean sheet.
How long you
got? Well, as long as you want.
I just did an interview with Ten Hag and Sky Sports, and they were saying about leakages and stuff like that. And if Sancho will play again, I can't see Sancho playing again. To be honest, I just feel like he's been, from his side, I feel like he's been disrespected and outed and stuff like that. I'll be really surprised to see him in a United shirt again. I reckon he'll probably just go back to Dortmund in January. But I don't know how much of a loss they'll take on Sancho, because Dortmund ain't going to be paying the sort of money that Man United will want unless he goes on like a loan deal or something like that. But it's, I think they've got 11 first-team players out, haven't they? There's, background stuff that's going on in the club higher than Ten Hag, like we were speaking about last week with the Glazers and stuff like that. It's just rotten to the core, isn't it, at the minute? And I feel sorry for each individual player that's playing. I genuinely do, because there's just, no matter what they do, seems to go wrong, doesn't it? Ten Hag's, I had a good season last season. I thought, finishing third and winning the League Cup and stuff like that, and progressing in the FA Cup final, wasn't it? And was it the semi-final in the Europa?
Yeah, latter stages. I don't know when you went out, but quarters or semis, wasn't it?
Yeah, for his first season, I thought he'd done well, finishing third in the Premier League. And then this season, it's just, it's gone to shit, really, hasn't it? And I don't think that's Ten Hag. I think he's only he can only do with the players he got on the pitch, hasn't he? At the end of the day, I think, like we touched on before, he should have signed another centre half. But ultimately he's just got to work with what he's got, hasn't he? At the end of the day, I just feel the club needs to be sold and they need to move forward. And I think until that happens, then they're not going to be able to move forward to the position where they're capable of being.
Do you put any blame on the manager for the current form?
I feel like everybody's got to take some sort of responsibility, haven't they? Ten Hag's picking the team that he feels is right for the team. But also the players have got to take responsibility as well. It's easy to blame somebody else, isn't it, at the end of the day when things go bad? But if Ten Hag had won the first 5 games, does he get all the praise? And he doesn't, does he? At the end of the day, the players get the praise. So I feel like as a team, you take the good and the bad, don't you? In my opinion, anyway. That's I wouldn't blame Ten Hag for all of it. It's part and parcel. You're a team, and that's it.
Completely agree. I think everyone would be in the same boat as well. It's a collective effort, isn't it? It's that's at the end of the day, it's a team sport. You're not playing golf, are you? Where you're on your own. And you've only got yourself to blame for your performance. It's everybody. There's a few things I've seen. I watch a little bit of Man U fan channels and that because it's nice to see a different perspective. Plus, people like Mark Goldbridge have me in stitches at times. Is Ten Hag being too kind to some of your players? Like, he has his favourites, clearly. I haven't watched either of your fixtures, although I watched a little bit of your Bayern game because I had it on at the same time as Arsenal. Rashford, it doesn't work hard enough, and yet he'll stay on the pitch for 90 minutes. What's that about? I mean, it stinks of Aubameyang at Arsenal, where he's had a big pay rise, played to get his, and Adam will be able to comment on this as well, played to get his new deal. I think he's your top earner or one of your top earners. And he just looks well out of sorts. He's not being, I think he's guilty of not really being coached properly in his career. He's not had a top manager, has he? Well, for going through his career that will nurture his ability. He's a very one-dimensional player, probably the best counter-attacking forward in the world, barring Mbappe, maybe. If you're on the transition, there's probably no one you'd want rather than Rashford in your side. But when it comes to playing games at Old Trafford, games you should dominate the ball and build up possession, things like that, it just seems to take the wrong decision all the time.
I think partly as well, like you said, just having that manager of that big caliber, I think Ten Hag will do good for Rashford. I mean, you've seen him bulk up and he seems much, much more stronger on the ball now. I mean, the final third's still a bit, but personally, I'd play him down the middle. I know he really prefers playing on the left to cut in, but you can't always cut in. Sometimes you got to look for the pass, and he's got that goal scoring instinct where he doesn't really want to be crossing the ball or passing the ball. He's got an eye for goal and he wants to be shooting, which sometimes pays off, but doesn't always pay off. And I feel like sometimes he can be quite greedy, and I think that's what's laying him down because he's not getting the assists and stuff as a winger should do with his ability. But like you say, he's countering. He's, like you say, one of the best in the world. But I think with Haaland in the middle, I think he's got to be crossing the ball in and stuff a lot more to get the goals. I mean, but I still think with Rashford, there's still so much more he could give. And I ain't just being biased because he's a United player and stuff. There was talks of him going to PSG or something like that before, but he's an impressive young player, but he can be frustrating at times. But I think as well, you've got to feel sorry for him with the stuff that he's had to deal with going on with the transition of managers and stuff like that. Obviously, after Fergie left, and then him, coming through and stuff like that. There's been so much change and uncertainty in the club. And like I said, just, it has a massive knock-on effect on everybody, doesn't it? The fans, the players, they've got no idea. Ten Hag's coming that to make ultimately some of the biggest decisions in the club's history with Ronaldo and stuff like that. It's just hard, isn't it? But I do feel like with Rashford, he has got that potential. And I do feel like he will get there. It's just he needs a bit of nurturing sometimes, I think. But it doesn't help when, Ten Hag's not even able to pick his best 11. Like all season, there's always, somebody's banned or somebody, is unavailable or been dropped or injured. It's just, it's embarrassing, really, isn't it?
With Ten Hag, does it feel like a case of deja vu? And what I mean by that is, does it feel like he's going to get the boot? Because it always seems to be the manager that takes
I don't think they
the
can.
rap at
I
United.
don't think they can. I don't think they can this time. I think they've done that far too much. I thought Mourinho was doing well. I'd have kept Mourinho longer. People on the, people have been saying since Fergie. I mean, how long's been Fergie left? Is it 2009
12 or something,
or
13, something.
12, 13? Yeah. So it's been like
12
10
or
years.
13.
Yeah, 10 years. So, there's been nobody of that sort of stature since Fergie, and you're never going to replace that when somebody's been there for like 20 plus years, won everything that he'd won. It's not just going to happen. They thought Moyes was going to come in and just do wonderful things. I mean, when Fergie won the league that season with the team he did was just unreal. It was like it shouldn't have happened. Fergie knew it was going bad, and it's just got worse since. Really, but I think with Ten Hag, they've got to stick with them. I don't see how they're gonna get any better or progress the club forward just by keep changing managers and paying millions and millions of pounds out to paying out the contracts and stuff like that. You're seeing it with Chelsea. With Graham Potter and stuff. Now they've got Poch, and they've just, personally, I said to Adam before the start of the season, he thought that Chelsea did well, and I said I just can't see it. There's just far, far too many transfers. The uncertainty. Nobody seems to have an idea what they're doing, and it's a bit like that at United. But they need to keep a sort of structure in place to get better and to get back where they was. Just by changing things willy nilly and throwing money at it, it's not going to work.
No, I agree, and I think you've certainly got to ride the storm with this one before it's things always
It'll get worse before it gets better, won't it?
Exactly, yeah. And Ad, you'll probably agree with that with Arsenal. Roll back 4 years, similar situation to United. Arteta come in, lifted the spirits, won the FA Cup in his first year, and then we were shit for 18 months. Let's have it right after that. And they stuck with him because he had a clear idea and a clear plan. And Ten Hag's clearly got that as well. It just needs the time and backing to implement it. Would you suggest that's the case looking outside in?
Yeah, I think so. I think, we could have got rid of Arteta in that, in that moment, and we wouldn't have had the season that we had last season. So I think sometimes it's good that a club back the manager, and I think you can see from Ten Hag's approach that he doesn't take any shit from anyone. He makes big decisions like obviously leaving Ronaldo out, and he obviously wants to lay the foundations because he obviously understands the stature of the club. So I think Ash is right in what he's saying that who else are they actually going to get in? It's just going to be going through the motions all again. It's just going to be restarting again. It'll be a complete rebuild, getting in players that the manager won't necessarily play, and it's too disruptive. It disrupts the players that you've got. The good players that you've got, like you say, Rashford. I don't think they're going to get any worse by keeping him, but I also don't think they'd get any better by replacing him. So they're better off just riding the storm and just letting him get his players in and build his team, and then judge him when he's got his players.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest or clearest differences between Arsenal and Man United at the moment would be the two captains for me, and I know you'll probably agree with me heavily on this. Ad, you got Ødegaard, who's not only a terrific footballer, absolutely wonderful role model for the club, a leader in all aspects. He's a leader on the pitch, off the pitch. I was reading today that he sits and has lunch with all sorts of different people around the club, not just the footballing staff, but people, the cleaners, people like that. So he gets to know everybody and makes everyone feel included, which I think is a really big part of what's going on at the Arsenal at the moment. Is everyone's together and pulling in the same direction. He's adored by our fans. He's held up in the highest regard in the Premier League. Now you've got pundits putting him in the same bracket as the De Bruyne's, Bernardo Silva's, those sort of that caliber of player in the Premier League, and he is, and it's all deserved. And then you've got Fernandes, who every time I see him play, looks like he's about to burst into tears. I can't remember the last time he played well, and I don't watch games like United do, so Ash may correct me on that one, but his goals and assists seems to have dried up. And again, I might be wrong with that, but from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem to grab the stats like he did when he first joined. Him being captain just sums up everything that's wrong with the club for me. For United, he goes missing when the games are tough. He just whinges and moans all the time. He's a horrible, horrible man, and I can't believe he's captain of that football club. And it's night and day the difference in captains between the two sides, and neither of which you'd actually probably on paper say that's a traditional captain of a football club. But in this modern era, Ødegaard absolutely is everything you'd want from a captain, and Fernandes isn't. And I don't understand how he got the armband full time. I know the alternative was leave it with Maguire, but surely that couldn't have been that bad.
I think
I don't see what he's bringing to the table,
isn't it? He's a fan favourite, and the fans love him. And don't get me wrong, he's probably one of their best players. But my only issue with him, let's say, is that he whinges all the time. Whenever anything's given against him, he's just there whinging. And obviously, I know he's going to stick up for his team, and that's what his job is to do as a captain. But he just constantly, you just look at him, and like you say, he's supposed to be doing the job that he loves. Being captain of a big team like United, and he just seems so like miserable all of the time. And then obviously you see Odegaard, and he's just he interacts with the fans. He doesn't throw his toys out the pram. He takes responsibility. He's very engaged. Whereas Fernandes gives me kind of Ronaldo vibes, kind of like whinging, being a bit of a crybaby at times. But in terms of quality as a player, he's probably one of their best. He could just do with being a bit more. I don't even know what the word is. Just less crybaby about things, and just be a role model, lead by example. You don't want to see other players doing that. Just be a bit more responsible, I guess, in a way. But yeah, it is obviously completely different players as well, the two of them.
What do you think, Ash? Are you happy with Fernandes as captain, or am I being too harsh on him?
No. I mean, I'll take some of it on board. What you say, I'll think exactly the same thing with his moan and stuff like that. But I don't know who else you would pick in that team to be captain. There's nobody more. He plays every single minute virtually when he's fit. He's barely injured, stuff like that. This season, he's been nowhere near his best whatsoever. But I think in regards to when he's throwing his dummy at the pram and stuff, which we all do, it's just frustration. I just think you look at the defence that he's working with. How frustrating must it be week in, week out when they've just not got the capability of pushing a team forward. You can see how weaker they are compared to the midfield and the offence. And I think that's why Ronaldo was the same. His expectations are far superior than your average footballer. And people see it as a negative. I see it as a positive as well as a negative, because they want to push and progress, and they want to win. They don't care if it's a friendly Champions League final or just a behind closed doors game. They want to win. Them just natural winners. And with Portugal, you see the passion and stuff. It's just their standards are far higher. You look at Maguire. He's been slated massively. There's no way he could be captain. He had to be stripped of it. And I think there was nobody else other than Fernandes really that could have been. Nobody been there long enough or deserves it more than Fernandes, really. I mean, maybe Rashford, but I don't like it having a striker or an attacking player as a captain. I think it needs to be somebody, either a centre half or somebody in the middle of the park. I feel like it's much more advantageous by having somebody there as opposed to being up front. But he's just in a bad patch, isn't he? Like everything else with the club. It's just things can only go up, surely. it can't get any worse, can it? Surely to God.
No, and I hear you with the lack of options. Maybe Casemiro would have been a decent
Yeah,
alternative, but you have
potentially.
got. I suppose you have got a lack of options of who could be your captain. But
It's not been there that long, has it, Casemiro? Really?
no, but Odegaard was only there officially for a year before we give it to him. I think
Yeah,
if you got those, is Casemiro the captain of Brazil? I don't
he
know
is
who
now.
he is
Yeah,
actually. Is he?
he is now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he's obviously got it in him to do it. But I get it. If you've only been there 12 months, or if he's not, maybe not part of the long term plans, because it seems like
Yeah.
he's fallen off a cliff a little bit with his own performances. Yeah, tough times for United, and to be perfectly honest, mate, I think you've got quite a hard game tomorrow night
Well,
away at
I,
Burnley, is
I,
it not?
yeah, 8 o'clock. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think so on paper. You'd think you know, with all due respect, not walk through them. I ain't saying, we ain't playing a talented team, but I mean, you'd expect a comfortable win against Bayern Munich. There was good periods of time in the match, but I suppose the score probably flattered United a bit. Really, 4-3. Bayern Munich, kept stepping the foot off the gas, I suppose. But you need to be beating teams like Burnley, especially with the bad start that they've had. And I think once they get a good, comfortable win, on the book, I think the only way is up. Then it's got to be. Players are back in training now. Mount might be playing. Amrabat might be playing. Varane might be playing. Um, so that can only be positive for the players as well. And Ten Hag, it's got to be. But recent performances have just not been up to standard, have they really? But you can sit here all day and say, oh well, we've got so many injuries, this, that, and the other. But a team like United should have two squads and more. You see it with like City, they can. They've lost De Bruyne this season, and it's made no major impact really, has it?
No, but you have had a lot of injuries, and to be fair, um, with players coming back, you should get stronger. But I just wonder if Burnley were to take the lead tomorrow, would you panic? Because it seems like the games you've lost recently, Munich and Brighton, until the first goal's gone in, you've been the better side,
Yeah, yeah,
and then
definitely. I agree.
your heads just hit the ground as soon as anybody scores against you, and it's almost like you lack
It's
the
the
belief
mentality,
that
isn't it?
yeah.
They need to
Whereas
get that out of their system.
whereas if you was to score first tomorrow, I think you go on and win comfortably.
Yeah, yeah, I
And you
agree.
are that kind of side. There's no sort of in between, and certainly not if you go a goal down. There seems to be a real lack of belief that you could turn the game around and end up winning it. And I guess that's saying over time, Ten Hag will tackle with you know signings and things. But if you go through your side, there's international players all over the park that have won major honours. It just seems so difficult from a neutral fan to accept that Man United are like that now. I guess the reality of it is that they're not the dominant force in the league anymore. They're just one of the ones that are trying to get back to the top.
Yeah, and I think as well in respect to United in their defence, multiple teams around them have improved massively. Not just a little bit. They've improved, a hell of a lot. I mean, look at Brighton, their very first game yesterday in European football and their whole history. Play like the players that the smaller teams are signing now. You wouldn't think it, would you? Ansu Fati going to Brighton. If you just said that, they've only been in the Premier League. Is it 2017 they got promoted? In 9 years, isn't it? They've come from like non-league football to Premier League. They've gone all the way through the divisions. It's
Yeah,
just a strange period, isn't it now, where there's more and more teams at the top. There's no top four anymore. It's top nine or whatever they say now. There's much more to play for, isn't there, as well, with like the Europa Conference and stuff like that. It's massive now, and there's so much more money involved. Other teams have got more money, stuff like that, which plays a big factor. United, I mean, loads of debt. The training grounds falling apart. The owners, you know, need to sell up and just pack their bags and let the club progress and go forward. And you feel like when you talk about United, you're always coming back to that point, and it's just, it's sad for the fans and the club, and I suppose for a lot of people involved in Manchester United, because the Glazers just aren't going to go forward the way that United should be going.
No, it does seem very much like they're just spend what you make sort of thing, but they're not prepared to invest it or take it to the next level. And I know we've touched on it before, but it doesn't look like they're going anywhere soon either, does it? So it'll be a bumpy ride for United, but I think you're more than capable of getting yourself out of a hole that you've dug yourself in. To be fair, and with your players coming back from injury, I didn't realise. Actually, I speaking to a Man United fan in the week that you had 14 players out for the Bayern game, which is mad when you. Yeah, I mean, and let's be fair, 3 or 4 of them, are probably never going to be anywhere near the first team, but they're still part of your squad, and you can't even call upon them to replace the injured players. So, Ad, what do you reckon for Man United tomorrow? Hard game, or you expecting them to win comfortably?
Well, I think on paper you expect them to win, don't you? But things have changed slightly with United in that they don't have that consistency, and I think a lot of it does come from the fact that they have had injuries both last season and this season, and you can't really get a team together and working together when you haven't got them available. So I think obviously Burnley away is going to be difficult. They're that kind of team, aren't they? That they can defend, quite compact, and when they play City, they put up a bit, quite a bit of a fight. But once City got their first goal, they just kind of fell apart. So I think if United start quick and get the goal, I think they'll win it. But they just don't need to make it difficult for themselves. But we've already said it, haven't we? There's no easy game in this league anymore. So all games are tough, and they haven't got a perfect away record either, have they? So yeah, it'll be an interesting one to watch, actually.
Yeah, it will be. It's like I say that they should win it on paper, but nothing's easy in this league. One fixture that usually is easy though is Tottenham coming to the Emirates, and I know you're going.
Yeah.
And I know you've got your heart monitor in place and taking some adrenaline to keep yourself all relaxed and calm.
Gonna need
it. I know we touched on the PSV performance, sort of lighting the touch paper, if you like, for our performance and going into the weekend. Do you feel a bit more confident now than you did perhaps before we played midweek?
Well, I mean, I didn't not feel confident because it's obviously we're at home and we've got that advantage. And although they're playing better, a lot of the players that they're probably going to play haven't experienced the derby, whereas I think most or all of ours will have done. Obviously, if he plays Raya, then he won't have done. But Havertz and Bryce, but we're the home team, and I think after the way that we played against PSV, we know that the fans are always up for this. We know it's always a big game, and I think that'll only motivate our players and give them confidence and get them fired up. And I think it came at the right time to obviously play our first game in the Champions League in 6 years. For Saka to score the first goal, it was just like it was almost meant to happen. Obviously, Gabby got his goal, Odegaard got a goal, Trossard, and they were all good goals as well. So yeah, I think it come at the right time, and I'm actually looking forward to it. Still nervous because obviously it's just the way that it is with the derby, but yeah, I'm confident that if we play our game and just play at the level that we expect from us, and we know that we can play, I think we'll be absolutely fine.
What are you expecting from Tottenham? Because I was speaking to my mate today who's a Spurs fan, and he thinks it'll be quite tight, but I don't see Tottenham playing any other way than just coming at us, because that seems to be the way that Postecoglou approaches football.
Yeah,
and I'm not just haven't yet seen anything of him. Although they've not had a test like Arsenal under him, I've not seen anything of them suggest that they may sit behind the ball or try and frustrate us. What are you expecting
No,
from them?
I mean the way that they play has improved, and obviously they're getting like late wins and they're coming from behind and stuff. But I just think again, him as a manager, he hasn't experienced this, whereas Arteta has. He understands obviously actually playing in the game himself as a player, and then managing them obviously home and away. I think that's kind of an advantage. But then also on the flip side is that we've not played against this manager. We don't know what he's gonna do and what ideas he's gonna come out with. But I think um, I just expect it to be a pretty fast paced game. I think it'll be quite entertaining. And I think the first 10 to 15 minutes will really set the tone. We'll kind of get an idea of, how the match is going to go. But I think with the atmosphere, with um, both teams obviously are going to really want to go for it. I think it's just going to be a really entertaining match, which is, you can't really complain. You can't really complain. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, mate. I'm not gonna lie, I was because they're a little bit more pleasing on the eye and better going forward, and anything can happen on Derby Day, and you really really don't want to lose this fixture. I've been a little bit worried about it, but not because I think we'll lose. I just can't stand the thought of us losing to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
But Wednesday night was a really really big sigh of relief, really. Actually, that it just clicked at the right time, and momentum is everything in football as well. I was listening to something yesterday, and I thought the bloke was spot on. So when someone was moaning, "Oh, 2 games a week catches up with players," well, it shouldn't do because people get up for work at 5 o'clock every day of the week and lug shit around for 12 hours, and then get up and do it again the next day, and then get up and do it again the next day. So a footballer can play twice a week, especially if you're winning games. And he was absolutely spot on with what he said. There should be no fatigue in the legs. They should all be there with a spring in their step, ready for the game. And I think playing the way we did Wednesday it's just eased all my fears for Sunday. But hopefully that doesn't bite me in the arse. I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again, but hopefully not this week.
No,
And
I hope not.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see a good performance from Arsenal. I expect to see Raya continue and go, and I'm assuming you do as well.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be a good test for him because I don't think I mean, he played well against PSV and he played well against Everton, but I don't think he's really had that much to do. I think I'd be fair in saying he hasn't had that much, that much to do. Really is. So it'd be good to actually see, um, how he plays.
Well, hopefully you won't have much to do again, but I
Hopefully,
agree with you. So far, he's what he's had to do. He's done very well, and I thought on Wednesday
yeah,
actually with a wet, greasy pitch, his handling was impeccable, which was
yeah.
good to see as well. Ash, I assume just quickly before we move on, you'll be tuning in to watch the game.
Oh yeah, I should definitely watch it. Do you think Arsenal playing in the week is an advantage or a disadvantage to playing Spurs Sunday?
Um, at this stage of the season, I don't think it makes too much difference. I think there's still enough freshness in the legs to carry us through.
Yeah,
And actually, from a lesson learned from last year is we went out the Europa League early doors, and I thought that would really help Arsenal. And in actual fact, with City playing in 4 competitions or 3 competitions till the end of the season and playing twice a week, it really helped their momentum.
I agree.
And I think playing twice a week isn't necessarily a bad thing. We've got a deep enough squad to cope with it. If someone needs a rest, they can sit out. And yeah, so I don't think it hinders us at all. And to be honest, if you watch if you'd watch the game second half, 3-0 up, it was a training exercise. We just popped the ball around. There was no one sprinting around, no one, needing to bust the gut. He took off players that he could basically to get us through to the game. Saka didn't play a full game, that sort of thing. So yeah,
I think it'll be a tough game. I think just purely because it's a derby as well. Every derby seems to be close and stuff like that. I don't know. I think the first 20 minutes will be everybody will be in fifth gear, won't they? Is Martinelli injured? Because I saw that he got took off quite early, didn't he, in the PSV game?
He went off against Everton.
Everton, sorry.
They've not actually done a diagnosis on him, unless you've heard anything more, Adam. But all I've heard is that he's 50-50 for Sunday. And if he's 50-50, that means he doesn't play for me. There's no point. No point
Well,
chucking
no,
him on and
exactly.
he rips it for 6 weeks. Just leave him out. Trossard can
no,
play. You've got other options. You don't need to risk him.
the last I heard it was a muscle injury because Arteta said in I think it was before the PSV, or it might have been after Everton actually, that he'd felt something in his hamstring. Martinelli had felt something in his hamstring, but they've since obviously done, investigation. I think they said it was a muscle injury. So I mean, Trossard's come in and he's doing a good enough job. So we've got backup in players like Reece and Vieira as well, who can play in other positions if we need to shift things around. So I think just wait until he's fitter. There's no point bringing him back and then losing him for months, especially with the fixtures that we're going to have to play, and we are going to need him. So just don't risk him.
Yeah, there's not like the squad's way for thin, and you have to take any silly risks. So yeah, I agree with you on that one. Just leave him out if he's not ready. If he's not 100%, even 90%, just let him have another week's rest.
I mean, just put him on the bench anyway. We can always bring him on if we need to. But I mean, it's not like Trossard's a bad backup. Is he? He's a good player. So yeah, I'd hate for us to bring him back and then something happens to him.
No, I agree with that. It's, yeah, couldn't agree more. Last week, chaps, you played a little game. Predict the scores. Ash, I'm delighted to say that you won.
Well, hey.
Picking up 6 points from the 6 predictions that we made. I was in second with 4 points, and Adju come third with 3. Ash was the only one to actually get a scoreline right, which was Liverpool to beat Wolves 3-1.
I couldn't remember if it was 3-1 or 2-1.
I'm sure it finished 3-1, didn't it?
Yeah, it finished 3-1.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So I was at football, so I missed the tail end of the game. But so we can do the same again this week. I've picked out 7 fixtures, some from Saturday, some from Sunday. We'll just go through it again, and I'll mark them up as I did last week. 3 for the correct score, 1 for the correct result. There's a couple in here that are fairly difficult to predict, I think. So it should be pretty interesting to see what we all think. We're going to start with Luton v Wolves. Ad, we'll start with you.
I'm going to say 2-1 to Wolves.
2-1. Ash?
2-0 Wolves.
I'm actually going with 1-1 on this. I think Luton will get their first points on the board. Next one. This could be funny. Man City at home to Forest. Go on, Ad.
I want to say 4-0.
What's Forest?
No, City.
If only.
I mean, I wouldn't complain. I would not complain.
I'm going. I think City and tear them apart. I watched Forest Monday night. They were fucking awful, and they chucked me out the last man standing game as well that I play. So I'm going 6-0. I think City are going to tear them apart.
Yeah, I'll go 5-1 City.
Next one, team that's in big trouble this season, I think, and we've just beaten them. Brentford at home to Everton. This is the 5:30 game. Ash, you go first.
Brentford 2-0.
Adam?
I'm going to go Brentford 3-1.
I'm going 2-0 Brentford myself. I just think they'll have too much for Everton. By the way, just before we move on, Everton's style of play is shocking, is it not? From what you've seen of them this year. I mean, even Luton and Sheffield United play the ball out from the back and have an identity. They're the only team now, Everton, that play the old fossil football. I know it's linked to Dyche, and that's what he does. But they've got better players than that, surely.
Yeah, I agree.
I was amazed with their approach to Arsenal. They didn't get in our face. They didn't try and battle us or anything at the weekend. It's almost like they went out on the pitch and it's like, well, it's Arsenal. We'll probably lose today. So thinking about the next fixture, it's really weird. But I think they're in big trouble this year. Big trouble. Well, we touched on this fixture. Burnley v Man United.
3-0 United. Haaland twice.
3-0. Adam?
I'm going to say 3-1.
To United, yeah?
Yeah, to United, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with 2-1 to United. I think they'll get back to winning ways this weekend. Chelsea v Aston Villa.
Ooh. Where is it? Is it
at Chelsea,
Villa?
I believe. Yeah, it's at Stamford Bridge.
That's a difficult one.
Did Villa lose last night? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3-2.
Yeah. Well, I'll go first for this one then. I think Villa are going to actually win this one 2-0. I think Emery has set them up. They'll be defensive and they'll just pick Chelsea apart. Chelsea have been awful this year. Haven't got going yet.
Yeah, I'd say Villa 3-1. They made a few changes yesterday, didn't they? They dropped Cash, DRB, Louise, Watkins, and then they kind of brought them on a bit too late, I thought. But yeah, I definitely think Villa will beat Chelsea.
No, I'm going to go 3-1 as well. I think I really rate Villa, to be honest. And I think they're the kind of team that'll give them quite a bit of trouble. So should be a good game, that.
Yeah, I think so. It should be end to end, shouldn't it? Really. Liverpool v West Ham, both in Europa League action last night. So Liverpool, I don't even know where Liverpool played, but they got a bit of travelling to do. West Ham played at home, made a load of changes. They should theoretically be fresher. Started the season well as well, West Ham. Actually, both clubs have, to be fair. Now, do you want to go first?
It's a difficult one because West Ham are actually playing quite well, aren't they? I'm going to say 2-2.
2-2. Ash?
Yeah, it is a tough one, to be honest, especially with the signs that Villa have made. But I'd say Villa. Liverpool 3-2, sorry.
3-2 Liverpool. I've gone 2-1 Liverpool. I think it will be a tight game. And West Ham capable of getting something if they all turn up. But they've started the season well this year. They've clipped up front, and they've got goals in them. We'll save the best till last. Arsenal Spurs. Adam, you go first this one.
I'm going to say 3-1. 3-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, I've duplicated that. I'd be more than happy if that was the end result. Just you then, Ash.
8-0 Spurs. I think it'll be a tough game, to be honest. And I think whoever gets the first goal, I think they'll kind of carry on. But I never really picked draws, but I'd say a 2-2 draw. I just think with Maddison, I know they lost Kane, which is obviously there's a massive loss with goals and stuff. But personally, from what I've seen, I know they've not had massive tests off it. They've been playing better football. I think they're trying to play everything through Kane when he was there, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, it was brilliant for him, but I think I think they're doing well. I think Madison was a cracking sign. It's just keeping the bloke fit. But I'd say 2-2.
Okay, that's your band for next week. No, in all fairness, I mean, anyone I've spoken to about the derby at the weekend has they've all suggested it'd be a tight game, and I think Spurs have earned that little bit of respect for people to think that they have started the season well, and they look a lot better than they did last year for sure, despite the loss of Kane, as you've already touched on. So we shall see, but I do hope you're wrong. I'm not going to lie. Draw's not the worst result in the world when you're playing in the derby, to be fair, but I mean, there's a game that's often dominated by the home team, so I'd be disappointed if we didn't win it this weekend. Well, that's me all through my bullet points, gents. Unless you've got anything you need to add. Did you want to just touch on Erdegaard's new deal? Or?
Yeah, I'm obviously really pleased. Really pleased at the business that the club are doing, not just in terms of the signings, but actually tying down, important players to contracts. Tied quite a few of our first team players down to, long-term deals. And I think obviously being the captain, and I never really had any doubts about him going anywhere else. You can see the way he holds himself at the club, and the fans absolutely love him. He's an unbelievable player. So really happy about that. Really happy we've secured his long-term future.
Yeah, it's probably the worst kept secret. We know as soon as Romano gets his claws into a bit of information, the whole world seems to know, don't they? But yeah, it's a massive deal for us. I think I touched on his qualities earlier, his leadership qualities, and he's my favourite player. I'm not afraid to say that. I think he's the one player at Arsenal that's completely undroppable. Maybe Saka as well. There's not really a backup to Saka, but Erdegaard is just everything to enjoy about Arsenal at the moment. Erdegaard's at the centre of it. And I'm over the moon that he's staying. And and that's, what is he, 23?
Yeah, I think
So,
roughly.
Something like that. So the deal will take him up to his late 20s, and then he's arguably got another long contract to go after that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's there for the next decade, to be fair, rather than just the next 5. But we don't do contracts like Chelsea, so 9-year deals. Yeah. Unfortunately not. But no, same as you, mate, buzzing with that. It's just seems to be good news all round at the moment at the club.
Yeah.
I think we call it there then, folks.
Yeah, nice one.